Imam Ibn Qayyim in the beginning of Madarij al-Salikin, and maybe one of the other teachers mentioned it, a great fa'idah. And before that, we'll also mention the fa'idah that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. This loneliness, this wahsha. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned it. And that is when he said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariban wa sayaudu ghariban fatuba lil-ghuraba." What did our beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam say in describing the loneliness? He said, Islam began as something strange. Islam began as something strange. And Islam will return to being something strange. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, Tuba, glad tidings. And some of the scholars said it's a large tree in paradise for the strangers. For the strangers. The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum asked the Messenger, ﷺ, is it because we're less in number? They said, no. In another narration, he said, no, you will be plentiful in number. You will be a lot. So Islam is not during the latter days going back to, understand, when Islam began, it was only amongst a few. As we mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a few, right? So Islam began as something strange. It was only being practiced by a few. And when the Prophet ﷺ said, and it will return to being something strange, does it mean it will be practiced by a few? No. Islam being strange in the latter days is not because it's practiced by a few. Rather, Islam being strange in the latter days is because only a few people practice the true Islam. Only a few people practice the true Islam. So, during the latter days, you will feel like a stranger. Calling to Tawheed, calling to the Sunnah, trying to implement the pure way of our beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, you feel like a stranger. Even though you're amongst Muslims. Even though you're amongst Muslims. But you feel strange. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that. Another thing, Imam Ibn Qayyim mentioned a wonderful fa'idah in the beginning of Madarij al-Salikin, and it was probably in volume 1. He mentioned the verse. He mentioned a verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse 69, where Allah Azza wa Jal said, Surah An-Nisa, verse 69, where Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَمَنْ يُتِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولِ فَأُولَئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. The translation of the verse, whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, then they will be with those who Allah has blessed from amongst the prophets, and the people who are extremely honest, and the martyrs and the righteous. Indeed, they are the best companions. We'll translate the verse again, and then we'll mention the connection. So Allah Azza wa Jalla in Surah An-Nisa, verse 69, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, whoever obeys Allah and His Messenger, then indeed he will be with those who Allah has blessed from amongst the prophets and the Siddiqeen, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, those who are honest. وَالشُّهَدَاء, the martyrs, وَالصَّالِحِينَ, and the righteous. And indeed, they are the best companions. Imam Ibn Qayyim derived a wonderful benefit from this verse. He said, the reason why Allah mentioned this verse and reminded us that if you are obedient to Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the world turns against you, the world deserts you, everyone turns their back. Everyone can turn their back on you. Everyone can desert you. But if you obey Allah and His Messenger and you enter into paradise, you will be with who? You will be with the prophets and messengers. You will be with the Siddiqeen, those who are honest. You will be with the martyrs. You will be with the righteous. Aren't they the best companions? So in this life, you might be deserted. In this life, you might feel lonely. But if you have, as we say, your eyes on the prize, if you're thinking about the hereafter, who do you want to be with in the hereafter? Do you want to turn back on your heels and be with the people on the set, your families, if they're non-Muslim? Be with your homegirls for the sisters, right? Do you want to be with them in the hereafter, or do you want to be with the prophets and the messengers and the righteous? That's why Allah Azza wa Jal said, if you obey Allah and His messenger, you will be with them. So think about them. Don't think about these people that are deserting you. Don't think Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam wanted to be with his father, in the company of his father. You don't think Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam wanted the company of his son. You don't think Lut alayhi salatu wasalam wanted the company of his wife. Prophets and messengers losing fathers, mothers, sons, wives. But that did not allow them to turn on their heels. That did not distract them from the path to Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, and that's why another thing that we add to what Imam Ibn Qayyim mentioned, the hadith which is reported in Bukhari and Muslim, on the authority of Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, which is an indication that the prophets and messengers were also lonely. My beloved brothers and sisters who feel lonely, the prophets and messengers were also lonely. Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you brothers read this in Kitab al-Tawheed, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Uridat alayya al-umam." I was shown the nations during the Isra wal Mi'raj. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was shown nations. Uridat alayya al-umam, fara'aytu an-nabi wa ma'ahu ruhayt aw raht, wa an-nabi wa ma'ahu ar-rajulu wal-rajulani, وَالنَّبِي وَلَيْسَ مَعَهُ أَحَدٌ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, during this journey, I was shown nations of the past. I was shown nations. And I saw a prophet, and he had between 3 and 7 or 3 and 10 people. A prophet with only 3 to 10 people? Only 3 to 10 people? My beloved brothers, prophets were not sent just to a family. Prophets were sent to nations, entire nations. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when I was shown the nations and the prophets, I saw prophets with 3 to 7 or 3 to 10 people, followers. And I saw a prophet with 1 follower or 2 followers. I saw a prophet with 1 or 2 followers. You mean a prophet was sent to a nation and only 1 person believed in him? Or 2 people believed in him? And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالنَّبِي وَلَيْسَ مَعَهُ أَحَدٌ. And I saw a prophet and he did not have not even 1 follower. Sent to an entire nation and not 1 person believes in you? And we want to sit and complain that we feel lonely? That I'm trying to be strong, that I'm trying to hold on to my Islam, but I just feel lonely? My beloved brothers and sisters, they felt lonely. My beloved brothers and sisters, they lost family members. Their family members turned against them. But what were they thinking about? They were thinking about, who do I want to be in the hereafter? Who do I want to be with in the hereafter? And that's why it is a disease to sit all night on social media and scroll and see what other people are doing. What this person is doing. What that person is doing. What this person is posting. What that person is posting. Of course you're going to feel lonely. Because your mind is on the sinners. Why is not your mind on the righteous? Like Imam Ibn Mubarak rahimahullah ta'ala was approached, and others from amongst the Salaf approached some of his students, some of his fellow teachers, approaching Imam Ibn Mubarak because other than his lessons, he was inside the house, reading, researching, studying, worshiping. So some of his companions, his students, entered upon Imam Ibn Mubarak, one of the great Imams of the Salaf, and they said, why don't you come out and socialize? Why don't you come out and socialize? Come on, Socialize. Imam Ibn Mubarak rahimahullah ta'ala said, when I'm inside and I'm reading my books, I'm with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam and his companions. I don't need y'all. I don't need y'all. I'm with reading about the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm with my mind, my heart is with them. So Imam Ibn Mubarak rahimahullah ta'ala didn't feel lonely. So when we sit down and complain about feeling lonely, and I feel strange and estranged, and I feel like I'm on this path alone, the problem is with us. The problem is not with the path. The problem is with us. If our minds and our hearts were with the book of Allah, with the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, reading about the prophets and the messengers and the salaf, we would not feel lonely. We would read it and we would say, subhanallah, they went through that. I can be patient.